Hello my dreamers, it's Sky here and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. Today we are going to be doing part 4 of our February color along. I assume if you're watching this you've probably already watched the previous videos, but parts 1 through 3 are available for you to watch if you haven't. We've been working in Tales from the Midnight Masquerade by Hanna Karlzon, and this should hopefully be our last part where we finish our Candy Clown Girl. This is how she's looking so far, and I have to say I am quite obsessed with how she's looking so far. This is a little bit different than I would normally go with color-wise, so I'm really enjoying and also struggling a little bit, but it's been fun. It's been a process, and I'm excited to continue through it. So I was trying to pick out colors for everything that we have left, but I was still like a little bit uncertain about a little bit, so I think we're just going to go with what we know, which is going to be the collar. Specifically this part of the collar, which is going to match up here on her hat. We'll start there and we'll work from that. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom on in and we'll get started. All right, so as with the hat, we are just going to do a light base of the Deco Peach. I'm not going to use a very firm pressure or anything, just a light pressure, but I am going to layer it over a little bit so that way you can at least see the difference between the white of the paper and the pink. This is a pretty light color, so we can absolutely add more of the peach in later if we need to, like we did with the hat up top. You can have some of the binding kind of coming off, the glue from it. Ugh. Okay, so once we have that layer in there, I believe what we did next was we went in with our shadow color, which is my usual go-to, because you need to know where your shadows are before you can see how much space you have to work with. Because without those shadows or those darker colors, there is no highlight. So I'm just going to give my 30% cool gray a good sharpen here, and then we're going to start picking out where we want it to be a little bit darker, which is going to be under this thing completely, so we can just start there. So I think for the most part, the 30% cool gray is just going to be for the shadows. So I'm just adding this in here, and then I'm fading it out. I am using a little bit of a firmer pressure to get that color in there, because I want it a little bit darker without using a darker color. Okay, so next we need to kind of figure out where these folds are. So like, for example, I don't know where this one is, but this one I can tell it kind of comes down here, and then this piece comes in front. So I am actually going to go on top of this line, and I'm going to add some depth to it and add a little bit of darkness to help separate the two. This piece is going to be lighter because it's in front of this piece, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. I'm also going to add a bit of a shadow coming underneath this piece. Fade that out a little bit. I actually might go darker than this in these bits here. I'm just going to turn my cat's fountain off though, because I can hear that it's starting to get a little bit low. The sound of the water just every once in a while trickling will drive me crazy. Okay, so for now, I'm just gonna bring the 30% in here and just fade it out a little ways. It's pretty much gonna go all the way to the end with the 30%, so I'm just lightly going over everything there because we want these bits to be a little bit darker. I'm just gonna pick out some of these random lines as well to bring some of this color up on, and then for this one, we need to decide whether this is in front or on the bottom. And I think it would only make more sense for it to be in the front. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go above and shade. Let's try to say them both at the same time. Shadow up this way. And then same with this. We'll add a little bit of a shadow underneath here. Add a little bit of depth on these lines as well. This one I feel could go either way, but I'm going to go to the left of this line, I think. Something's tickling my throat. Shadow's going to be on the right of the string here. And then I think for the most part, the shadows are going to start to be on the right of the creases of the fabric as well. I feel like these probably should have been gray because these pieces would have been like this. But, oh well, it showcases the shirt a little bit more, I guess. It is what it is. I think I'm going to kind of shadow both sides on this one and this one. They're like a little bit more like towards the back. They're like kind of behind her. So I don't exactly know what side needs to be shadowed. So we'll just make them pop a little bit and shadow both because why not? Okay. I think that's pretty good with the 30%. Let's see. I'm gonna go to the 70%. I think I'm gonna grab a swatch for that. Probably could do the 50%, but the 70% will be fine. I'm just not gonna go super dark with it. Let's darken up kind of under these a little bit. Just in some of like the deeper recesses here. Okay, so kind of like that. Just sort of adds to that shadow effect. Will help add some depth to these so they don't look so flat. Okay, I like that. All right, so now we're going in with our next color, which is the 20% cool gray. And we're just gonna kind of work our way through these grays in the same order. We're gonna go over the shadows and bring it out a little bit. And we're going to do that for pretty much all of them. If we end up completely covering an area, because there's really not much room, like here I just kind of went in fully with the 20% gray, I'm not too worried about that. We can go in lightly on these, but I think I'll end up kind of making these darker anyways. We'll see. These ones back here, there's not really that much room, and I'm okay if they look a little bit darker anyways, so I'm still gonna bring the color out a little bit. I'm not being super neat with it because it's going to be fairly light anyways, and it's not going to make that much of a difference. As long as the color's in there, that's all that really matters. Okay, let's go back in with the 30% cool gray just for a moment because I want to darken these spots up a little bit here. So I'm just going to add quite a bit more pigment to this. Okay. So next up is the 20% cool gray. Nope. Did we do that one already? We did. 10%, that's what I meant. So same thing going over those shadows. Bringing this up a little bit and then fading it out. Okay, so I think we went over with the white first, and then we added I don't even think we used the white on that one, did we? I can't remember. I'm gonna go over with the white first, kind of blend and burnish everything up to a certain extent. We don't really need to burnish too crazy on like a light color like this because you can't really see the white spots. But yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll add a little bit more of the pink in to some of the lighter areas, or just wherever we want a little bit more of a interesting color. So I'm not too worried on these like really light areas here, but like when we get into these ones, I definitely want to blend that out. Where it's a little bit darker and the tooth of the paper is more noticeable. But yeah, for the most part, this doesn't really have to be burnished. You'd think that the white wouldn't really make that much of a difference, but it really does. I love how it just like kind of like adds that soft, glowy look. It's very pretty. Sorry if I'm not super chatty. I'm kind of zoning out a little bit into the coloring. I just worked a full shift today, so I'm a little bit tired, but it's also late and it's kind of yucky outside, which definitely does not make me feel energized at all. It's kind of like a rainy day minus the rain. So like gloomy. It's supposed to be winter. Doesn't really feel like it. Pretty sure winter has abandoned us. Aside from that super cold snap that we had that I think I was talking about in one of the previous parts, it's been pretty brown. Just brown and yucky. Which is unfortunate because we were able to go sledding once, thankfully, but that's pretty much all we've done for winter stuff. Everything's been just so wet and there's hardly any snow. What little snow does show up usually melts like a day or two later. It gets cold and then it gets warm. We've had more rain this winter than we had in spring last year, which is bizarre. Definitely abnormal weather here for sure. so let's go back in with our Deco Peach. I'm just going to pick out some of these lighter areas just to add a little bit more of that pink hue too. I don't want to put it everywhere. Just where it's a little bit lighter. And the nice thing about this is as long as it's kind of here and there, it actually has more impact than if it were everywhere because it's more noticeable. There, that is beautiful. I love this color combination. Okay, I think what we're gonna do next, let me see here. Okay, we're gonna bring these colors back. Okay, these little orbs here, I've decided to color just like the ones up top. It eliminates one more thing we need to color, and I feel like it balances too, because pretty much all of this, except for this one thing, is up top. So we've got all of this gorgeous orange color, and then almost none down here. So I feel like it needs a little bit of balance. So we're gonna balance it. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of the orange to the right-hand side and the bottom. We got a cat at the door. Can I help you? Okay. Then we'll add in some of the violet. Okay, we're gonna go back in with the orange a little bit. Just popping that back over the violet kind of subdues the violet a little bit. So I feel like even though we already have orange there, this is still necessary. Or at least it definitely seems to make a difference anyways, so we're gonna continue doing it. Yeah, I think that was a good choice. I'm liking that already. The only ones I'm not really sure about are like these ones, these orbs, because all of the other orbs have like this dark black on them. I'm debating going over this with Posca pen. I feel like we probably should because they stand out a little bit too much, and I'm not sure they stand out in a good way. So we're just gonna add a little bit of the canary yellow, a little bit more coming out from these other colors here. We're not burnishing. We're gonna use our white to do that, which is next. Okay. Let's pick out a pinky color to bring in and we'll go from there. All right, this is either going to be really good or really bad. So we're gonna test it on the candy canes. So I'm gonna start with the Deco Yellow. I'm just gonna lightly color these in. Those are really pretty colors together. I like that. Whether it goes with the overall picture, though, we'll see. Oh, I pulled swatches and then didn't even bother pulling the pencils. Typical me move. All right, so Process Red. This is going to be our darkest color. So we are going to go in along the same kind of edges that we did. I'm going to do a little bit on the top and bottom of this one. This is kind of acting as our shadow. Okay. Now orange, just a little bit over top of the Process Red and coming out just slightly. Those colors mix beautifully. Never would have thought of mixing those together until right now. Okay, salmon pink is next. I've used this already? Where did we use this? Ah, in her hair, that's right. Okay. So I'm kind of burnishing the shadows as I'm adding this, and then I'm just fading it out to the highlight because I don't want our shadows to be oranged or like yellowed up, because then they're going to be a little bit too orangey and I want to keep them a little bit more pink toned if possible. All right, so then back in with the Deco Yellow. And then with this one, we're just going to go over all of it. It's not going to affect the shadows too much since they're pretty much already burnished, but it's going to brighten them up a little bit. I think I actually like that. All right, now getting more crazy. So Deco Yellow in on her cheeks here. And then we're going to bring the Process Red in around the outside. Okay, I think for her cheeks though, we're gonna skip the orange. Let's go in with the salmon pink. So we're gonna go over top of the, what was that last color? The process red. I'm using kind of a medium pressure maybe. Medium firm. I'm not quite looking to burnish it, but I really want these colors to mix together. I don't really want to leave room for much other color to clash with them, I suppose. The less tooth that you leave, the less the color will kind of cling to that spot, is what I've kind of learned. That's beautiful. Just going to lightly blush over the highlight area as well. We're going to add a little bit more deco yellow, just a little bit. We don't really want to orange this up, but I do want to have the yellow a little bit more prominent. I'm mostly just putting it in the center. And then I think we're actually going to go in with the Deco Peach to blend and burnish this all together. I wonder, I might regret this. Hold off on doing this. Let's just see how this looks. Yeah, okay, I like that. So I'm going mostly on the line, but just slightly on the inside of the circle. Just add like a little bit of a purplish glow on the outside. It looks really pretty. Look at the difference. Just that little bit of purple makes. That just made her cheeks stand out so much, which is kind of what I was going for. I want her makeup to stand out. She is a clown after all. Let's add a little bit of the violet up here too, actually. Yes. Definitely necessary. Look at that difference. It is incredible how just one color can make such a huge difference. Let's see if I'm I should be okay. I'm gonna grab my black Posca. And I'm just gonna darken these little things. And I messed up on that one, but that's okay. Just sticking up a couple other parts so it doesn't look strange. There we go. Yeah, I think that's better. I think they just looked a little bit too bizarre not having any black on them. I think for these dots, I'm just going to do these black. I was debating doing them in color, but I think this just makes more sense. Yeah, I like that. That's cute. We can maybe even do like a couple just like little small dots too. I'm gonna make them a little bit more prominent around the circles and then fade them out a little bit. There we go. All right, loving that. Did we ever tackle the sucker? I don't think we ever did. I don't really want to do much with that one, I think. Might as well just go ahead and do it gray. So very carefully, now that I have wet paint everywhere, I'm gonna go in with the 70% cool gray and just create a bit of a shadow. And then let's do the 20% cool gray. That's 10, there, 20. Starting in the shadow spot and then just drag that out. And I'm just gonna leave it like that. Okay, for her lips, sorry guys, I know I'm all over the place. Let's go in with the salmon pink. Keep an eye on the time too. Okay, we're not doing too bad. Okay, process red. We're gonna bring this in on the sides. Kind of around the bottom here, fading up. Basically gonna outline her lips. Add a little bit of a shadow along that middle line. Going in with the violet, we're going to do the same thing, but darker. I'm pressing pretty firm. Just fading that out a little bit. Okay, like that. Just add a little bit more of the processed red in. Just fading it out around the center. Look how beautiful that looks. Let's put down some more salmon pink. Oh, this is Deco Peach, not salmon pink. Oh well, okay, Deco Peach. If you put salmon pink down, even better. I'll just go ahead and burnish this with the Deco Peach. That was my plan anyways. I was going to put a little bit of the salmon peach down, or salmon pink, and then burnish with this one. But maybe I'll just do the opposite. So burnish with that one, and then let's go in with the actual salmon pink. Just add a little bit over top. All right, I love that so much that we are going to do that with her little eye thingies. What did we do exactly? Did we base it? We did. We based it with the salmon pink, I think, hopefully. Maybe we didn't, but we're going to. Can we see? First, I should check that. Okay, we're good. Which way do we want this to go out? I think I want it. I think I want it darker coming out from her eyes. So let's go in with the processed red here and bring that out a bit. Our Posca pen should be dry, but just be careful just in case. Okay, now we can go in with the violet. Let some of that coming out. We'll go back in with our processed red. Bring that out a little bit more on its own. And I'll do the same thing I did with her lips. I'll go in with the Deco Peach, burnish with that, and then I'll go back in with the salmon pink and add a touch of that on top. It seemed to work, so why not? Okay, salmon pink. Let's outline her lips with this. kind of coming along here too. So mostly just going pretty firm on that line. Then we're going to do the same with this. Basically just outlining that line. There. Gorgeous. Okay, so now that we have her face done, we're going to do her eyes, which I have decided to do gray. So I'm going to start with the 30% cool gray. I'm going to add just a little bit of this kind of to the corners of her eyes here on either side and kind of bring that out. We're going to mix that with white, so it's not going to be super prominent. It's going to be like a little bit of a shadow to kind of help the whites of her eyes look a little bit more dimensional. We're going to go in with a sharp 70% cool gray, and I'm going to go around the outside of her iris here. Fade that in. And then from the center, I'm just going to draw some lines. It's going to look funny, but trust the process. With the 20% cool gray, I'm going to go in around the center, and I'm just going to use small circles to blend this all together. And then I'll work in that outer line into it as well. Then from here, we're going to grab our violet, and we are going to give this the sharpest point we have ever seen, or that we possibly can with whatever pencil sharpener you have. Try my best not to break this. We don't want to push too hard. We don't need to push too hard. Same thing. Just create some little spiky bits with the violet. Go around the outside. And just fade it in slightly, just to add that little hint of purple in there. Right, where it is with this. We are going to bring her eyes to life. We're going to work on one eye so we can see the difference between them. There, look at that. If you feel like her iris needs a little bit more of a darker line, we can go around that as well, and that will make it pop out. So you can kind of see the difference there. But yeah, that is amazing, and I totally forgot to fade out the gray in her eye. We're not going to do that right now. We will do that later. We're just going to do it very carefully. I got a little ahead of myself because I got excited. Finishing the eyes is one of my favorite parts. I'm gonna hold this down because one thing that I've had happen is doing like this, but the page comes up as you make that line and it just wrecks it. So you want to make sure that your page is completely flat when doing eyelashes. She is gorgeous. After we let that dry for a little bit while we finish up down here, then we can go back in and add white highlights and then blend out the eyes. I mean, you could just leave it like that too. It really doesn't look that bad. It will look better when we add the white though. Okay, so for these little bits, we're gonna base these with Deco Yellow. These are gonna match the candy cane up top. Okay, so from there, after that, we added the processed red. So this is just gonna go in our shadowed areas. I'm not too worried about making these things look perfect. I'm just gonna add the shadows where I think that they would be and we'll work from there. So basically anywhere where they're disappearing or coming out from. Realistically, as long as we have a little bit of the colors on each of these, they're gonna look great. Okay, from there, what did we do? We did orange. So let's go through and add orange, going over top of that processed red and bringing it out just a little bit. Okay, from there, I believe we put in the salmon pink. Oh, wrist is starting to bug me a little bit. What are we at for time here? We're actually not too bad. I think this part will be a little bit longer than I anticipated. It'll probably be about 2 hours. Maybe not, a little less. I'm really bad at guesstimating time. I thought for sure that this would be a super short part, but I think I've ended up putting a little bit more effort into this than I was planning on, just because the inspiration hit again. I am obsessed with her, honestly. I was really worried about where we were going to go with her. I felt so limited and just unsure, and now I am just obsessed. Okay, once we're happy with those, then we're going to go in with our deco yellow, and we are going to burnish all of them. This would be a great fire combination. It's kind of what this reminds me of. Right, and once we're happy with that, then we're gonna go in with our violets, which I've somehow lost. Where did it? Oh, there it is. It's hiding. So I'm mostly gonna tuck this into the areas where the shadows are coming out. On these ones, I'm gonna add like little tufts, just so they don't look boring. Apologies if the desk shakes. Miss Miko is up there. Or I guess the camera. The desk isn't, well, the desk might be shaking, but it's the camera. That's what I meant. Beautiful. Okay, and last but not least, aside from the background, which we will do shortly here, we just have these little guys, which are going to be the same color as her hat. Okay, so starting with the dark purple, put my hair in there. Let's go ahead and base this. This is going to be really simple. We're not really going to go too crazy on these. It's just going to be a gradient from dark to more purple as it goes towards the beads at the end. Just going to say she's an octopus, but there's 9, not 8. She could be an octopus with an extra arm. I'm not really interested in spending too much time on these, so I don't really plan on doing much layering. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of a medium firm pressure. We're going to start with the black. I'm going to pop that in there and then fade it out. "90% Cool Gray is next. That's going to go over top of the black a little bit and then come out. We're going to be doing our blending and burnishing with the dark purple. I think we also used the 30%, didn't we? I feel like we did, but I didn't include it in my color combinations here. Oh well. Maybe we didn't. No, I think we did. Just going to lightly bring this all the way to the ends. And then lastly, go in with the dark purple. I'm going to sharpen this. Just very sharp. And we just very carefully finish these off. All right, there's not much left to do. I'm gonna grab my white and sharpen crap out of this guy. I don't know where the swatch is for this right now. Everything's buried. Let's just very carefully go into that gray and then just bring it out. I am making absolute sure that I don't touch the outsides. There we go. Also go in with our white and we'll just create our dots here. Anywhere else we want to highlight, we can. I don't know if I really want to highlight her lips or not. I feel like I might leave that, but let's a little bit of a highlight on her nose, so that's cute. We can put a highlight on the candy canes. Just like that. Can maybe add some white dots in here too. Let's see how that looks. Kind of meld it with the black ones. I like that, yeah. And then let's add little highlights on these orbs. I think that's pretty much it, aside from the background and stickles. Stickles are going to be very last. And I think the only proper color we can do for the background is pink. So I'm going to do a little bit of a mottled background. I'm going to do 2 different pinks. I'm going to not put that on there because that's probably a bad idea. So I'm going to do this kind of like salmon-y pink with a brighter pink. I don't know if I want this one or this one. Let's see. I'm going to go for the lighter one. So these are just Artist Loft pastels. They're very cheap. I got them at Michael's, and you can match these however you'd like. If you don't have soft pastels, you can achieve this with pencil. It's just a little bit harder. Takes a little bit more effort. I shouldn't say harder, it's just more effort. We're going to do the light color first. So I have just a sour cream lid that I use for this. I'm going to start with a really light peach color, and I'm just going to scrape a bunch of the pastel into this container. Okay, once that's done, I'm going to grab a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to start trying to very carefully apply this to the page. I'm going to try my best not to put this over anything because it will kind of wash our colors out. So I'm just going to pick out some random areas to put this in because remember, we do have 2 colors, so we don't want this one all over the place. A little bit up in the corner here. And let's do maybe right here. Okay, we'll do the same thing with our other color. Okay, so once you're done with that, you're gonna discard your pastels, like whatever you have left. A lot of people say to take them outside and dump them. I just use a wet paper towel and do it that way. So I'm gonna dust everything off with my brush. I got a little bit of like color and pastel on the other side, unfortunately, but that's okay. And then I did get some pastel in some other places here that I don't really want it. So the best thing to use is a Prismacolor kneaded eraser, but we can use just a normal eraser and just very, very lightly go over these areas that you want to pick the pastel up from. As long as you're going light, it should only erase the pastel and not the colored pencil underneath. See, I have a smaller one. I love this thing. This is the Mono Knock. This is one of my favorite erasers. I use this all the time. It's great for things like this where you need a little bit of extra control. Okay, so once we're done with that, I like to take a Kleenex. I'm okay if I rub away some of the pastel. If it doesn't look as vibrant, that's fine, because then it won't transfer. And I would rather have less vibrant pastel than have transferring pastel. So I'm gonna pick up as much of this extra pigment on the page as I possibly can. So you can see it kind of erasing here. Got it all over this page. The pastel probably will transfer, so after I've used pastel on a page, I will usually keep a piece of paper close to this page. That way it doesn't transfer over. Okay, so from there you actually do want a small eraser like this if possible, and we're just going to erase some little circles here. Create some kind of small circles coming out from behind places. I'm going to put a heart right here. I'm kind of going based off of these little designs up here. That's what I'm doing. I do have a Derwent's battery powered eraser too. Those work really, really good for this. Okay, let's put a star up here. So now we have a heart and a star and a bunch of circles. So I think that's pretty much good. There we go. So there is a very simple background, took little to no effort, very little effort. You could go in with acrylic paint to kind of whiten up these little shapes a little bit more if you don't want them so subtle. I kind of like keeping them subtle, so your eye's kind of looking for them. I could go in, I want to see if this makes a difference. Yeah, so using this eraser actually does make a big difference. So this is another thing that I completely recommend. It gets a lot of the pastel off, more than even just your manpower on a normal eraser can take. Yeah, so that thing is amazing. It's definitely not necessary, but it does make life a little bit more convenient. And I just realized that I totally forgot in there. Okay, that's no problem. I'm gonna take our sponge. Just try and touch some color in there. There we go. I think that's the only place I forgot, so now we're good. All right, I don't think there's anything else. I think that pretty much covers it. Oh, no, I lied. Stickles. We need stickles. Can't forget that. I don't know where I moved them to. Oh, never mind, I found them. So let's see, I'm gonna go, there's a few colors you could do here. So I've got like this pretty brown, that would be beautiful on this page. This coppery color would be gorgeous. This one would be really pretty. Clear stickles you can absolutely never go wrong with. I don't know which one I want to do. I feel like as pretty as these are, they might be a little bit too, well, are these the same? No, there's copper and rose gold. I don't know, let's see. I'm kind of leaning towards the copper. We can always wipe it off if we don't like it. Okay, so I like to put a little bit of the stickles down, and then I like to take a Q-tip and put it in that way. Just kind of dabbing it in there. Oh, that is so pretty. I'm gonna stick with the copper. It is a little bit dark, but I really, really like that. Okay, we'll start here. I can always add more stickles or move them to other places if we need. I'm going to use a little bit more of like a dabbing kind of technique here, just because we have Posca pen down and it is water-based, so it will smear. We don't want that. I'm going to try and keep the glitter a bit more subtle. So some of these that I put a little bit too much stickles on, I'm going to try and steal some of the glitter for some of these other ones over here. So pretty. Okay, I did put a fair bit on this one just because I'm gonna do these ones down here with it as well. I'm gonna add some to the lollipop, just a few, whatever's left on my Q-tip here. All right, now I think she is officially done. Just gonna hold her like this so we don't really see much of the glare, so you can kind of see how she looks. So that is her finished. Maybe if I have a minute, I'll come back when I actually have some decent light to show you guys, but I think she turned out amazing. I think I will do that. I will wait and I'll come back when I have some light, and then we'll see the final result and we'll go from there. All right, so now that we have a little bit of better light, this is what she is looking like. I am so happy with this. Stickles have had time to dry. They always look a lot more sparkly when they're wet, but they are so pretty. So yeah, for the next little bit, I'll just keep a white piece of paper in the book just to kind of keep the pastel from transferring onto the other page. It hasn't transferred onto this paper so far, but it's only been like a day. So yeah, this is the finished result. I am so ecstatic with this page. It turned out way better than I imagined it was going to, and I'm very, very happy that we made the color choices that we did. I'm not usually one for like a lot of pinks and purples, but this page is just beautiful. Hopefully you guys agree. I would love to see your guys' finished pages if you followed along. You can use the hashtag DreamInColorAlong, or you can tag me or just send it to me on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you are. I'm pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you liked this color along, give this video a thumbs up. That would be super helpful. It makes it pop up a little bit more in other people's feeds that might appreciate it. So yeah, if you could do that, that would be awesome. And I look forward to seeing you guys for our March color along, which I don't think I've decided on yet. I can't remember if that's a voting one or not. I'll have to see. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. And yeah, as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, guys. Bye.